just come and kill me?
No. No. Nobody's coming.
What is God intending to bring out of this situation? If we do our part as his servants, the government does their part as whoever they are in the plan of God. What is it that God plans to bring out of it? That's the way they thought.
We never went in. We did not introduce fire into this compound. It was not our intention that this compound be burned down. I can't tell you the shock and the horror that all of us felt when we saw those flames coming out there. It was, oh my God, they're killing themselves.
I just hope everyone doesn't jump to making decisions before they've heard our side, because right now all you're hearing is the press. You're hearing a very perverted press. Trust God, read your Bible, know what you're talking about. What are you doing?
We believed that this thing had to be brought to a logical conclusion at some point. We never fired one single round of ammunition.
Were there rules of engagement by the FBI? What were they?
Yes, they were, that they would not shoot unless someone's life was in danger.
What I call the lunatic fringe still clings to the notion that there was a gigantic governmental conspiracy that brought about this nightmare. It is difficult to see how any rational human being subscribes to such a notion, but obviously many do.
On bringing about this infernal nightmare in flames and the extermination of the children and the women and the other innocents is not an explanation that should be cast aside.
If the Branch Davidians intended to ambush those people with 48 machine guns and 50 caliber machine guns, and
Davidians are a break-off from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Advent meaning the second coming of Jesus. The Davidians, starting with a man by the name of Victor Hotef in the 1930s and 40s, believed that God had once again visited his people with a living prophet. That's the key.
Victor Hotef claimed to be that living prophet and moved his followers to Waco, Texas from Southern California during the 1930s. Living outside town in cottages, the Davidians studied the Bible as literal truth. The book of Revelation and its cryptic 7 seals was their focus. Christians generally believe the seals tell God's planned sequence of events leading to Judgment Day, and that their true meaning can only be explained by the Lamb of God, a Messiah who will come during the last days. 5 years after Hotef's death in 1954, all Davidians gathered at Mount Carmel. They believed Armageddon, the Bible's predicted final battle between good and evil, was close.
We feel that world conditions are such, in line with prophecy, that all nations are soon to gather against Jerusalem to battle. In fact, we expect that to be this spring.
The Davidian church almost disappeared after that. But Ben and Lois Roden kept a small group together. Lois led the Davidians after her husband died, and it was she who tutored young Vernon Howell as her understudy. When Lois Roden died, a leadership conflict between Howell and her son George, dubbed the Mad Man of Waco, split the Davidians.
So holy jihad. It's what you have with Khomeini against Israel. You've got a Vernon Howell against me.
The majority backed Howell. When George chased them off at gunpoint, Howell and his followers moved to Palestine, Texas, where they lived together in buses and tents. After an armed confrontation between the two rivals, Vernon Howell became the new Davidian leader. George Roden was later convicted of murder in an unrelated matter. During a pilgrimage to Israel, Howell believed God chose him to be a contemporary Cyrus and free God's chosen people, just as the ancient Persian king Cyrus had defeated the Babylonians and freed the captive Jews. On returning to the United States, he legally changed his first name to David, honoring the Hebrew King David, and his last name to Koresh, after the Messiah Koresh mentioned in the book of Isaiah. Koresh is the Hebrew word for Cyrus.
What he essentially claimed was not to be God or not to be Jesus Christ. The Davidian, throughout the Hebrew scriptures, but particularly the book of Isaiah and many of the Psalms, in very detailed ways, and he would go through the scriptures and find the references to a sinful Messiah. A phrase got picked up by the Waco Tribune-Herald and pushed in the wrong direction. The claim of Koresh and his followers was not going.
With its appropriations hearings a week away, a large successful raid would produce major positive headlines to counter the ATF's reputation as a rogue agency whose debacles blackened the reputation of other agencies. And it would scare the public enough about fringe groups to create political pressure on Congress to increase its budget.
The first cattle trailer had already pulled up. The second one was pulling up when we got about halfway down the driveway, and all hell broke loose.
Here, what is that?
This was an unreasonable.
Yeah, the 75 men around our building and they're shooting at us in Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel? Yeah, tell them there are children and women in here to call it off. I hear gunfire. Who is it? Wayne. Tell me what's happening, Wayne. Your women and children in danger. Wayne. I'm under fire. I'm going to call it out. What? I'm going to pull back. I have a right to defend myself. They started firing first.
First 15, 20 minutes, it was get the job done, shoot the video. And then when you see people getting shot, you can hear people screaming and the bullets hitting. I have 2 daughters, and I started thinking about my daughters. And
it's kind of like getting into a fight with a couple of next door neighbors where the little brother comes over and whips you, and then the big brother comes over to investigate. Anyway, we'll try to work.
What the people believed that would happen was that God was going to judge either the world or them. If it judged the world, they would survive.
There came a point in my rolling on the floor and trying to protect myself from the heat and being in the pitch black, not able to pulling off my hands. My coat was all melted on my back and smoking. I looked back over my shoulder, and the hole had just come out with a mass of flames. And the first thought that came to me was, I'm the only one.
I'd feel better if I could go in and got him out without him in his face. Yes. They didn't want him to come out. They wanted to kill him.
Fire was just going on and on. We realized nobody came out, thinking maybe my husband didn't get out, but my children got out. Horrible, horrible way to die. I try not to think about it because I keep thinking at some point they felt all that heat. I kept thinking the people in the square, they were the ones who maybe they probably cooked to death. I think it was to be this tragedy to show what kind of a people we have as a government.
As soon as the Branch Davidian Star David flag had fluttered to the ground, they ran the ATF flag up on that flagpole as a symbol of a military conquest, because the whole world saw this as a symbol that the battle was over.
I love this country. I love the flag. I love saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I still cry at the national anthem. I hope not only law enforcement, but I hope everyone does that.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There she goes. Bye-bye.
I believe that using CS gas against infants, against old people with respiratory problems, there were 60, 70-year-old men in there, and there were young children. That's torture.
17-year-old Peter Gent was inside the silo scraping rust when the raid began. Gent is barely visible in this news video as he climbed to the top to see what was going on. The video apparently shows him being shot from this passing helicopter. Gent falters and then drops back onto the silo's roof. Federal officials didn't let the Davidians remove his body for 5 days.
You're looking out of the window, seeing 3 helicopters, and the next minute you hear firing and you're on the floor with bullet shells flying all over your head. It's frightening.
We have people out here, we have all these people, women, children, tiny babies. These men came in here and they started firing on us. The bullets came through the walls and people were killed, people were injured. And this is America.
What happened there with your finger? You were just sitting there? I was told you were nursing the baby?
I was sitting here kind of like, I'm not exactly sure it happened so fast, but at any rate, it went up this finger into my hand and out my shoulder.
Okay, wait a second.
Cameraman! Hey! Ambulance!
Ambulance, got it!
We're sitting there, and ATF agent says, newsman, call an ambulance. We need an ambulance. John got back into the car, and just as he was reaching the car, he opened the door and a bullet